so that we have a better representation of line. But ideally, what should you do? Let's say if you choose this theta 0 and theta 1, right? And actually that calculation is by default you are doing in this equation of this h. So if we just go back and check what is an equation of h, check the hypothesis equation. What you are doing over here, right? So you are considering all the theta values. No, actually, the scenario is this j depends on all the theta values. It doesn't mean that it depends only on one theta value. Why we have considered that the theta 0 is constant and theta 1 with different values for theta 1, so that we have the plot of this theta 1 versus j theta 1. But the correct plot for this example is this. Whenever you have just theta 1 and theta 0 and the theta 1, fine, and we want to reach over here, so this j is not depend on either theta 0 or theta 1. It is actually depends on both, right? And we'll try to tune, or you can say we'll try to change both the theta values, 0 as well as 1, not only either theta 0 and theta 1. So we'll never do this practice by keeping one constant and trying another, right? What we'll do, we'll update all the theta values together. At the same time, we'll update all the theta values. Fine, and that's why we are doing this gradient descent. But to represent this particular scenario into 2D plot, what we have assumed, we have removed one parameter, that is theta 0, and we have just considered j with theta 1. But the current situation or the correct situation is this graph. Fine, and that's why in the last lecture we have discussed this contour plot, and where the representation of this theta 1, theta 0 and the j of theta will be proper. Fine, and once again the dimension, if the theta 0, theta 1, theta 2 up to some higher dimensions are there, then once again it is difficult to plot it in 2D or the 3D, right? But yes, the calculation will be always with respect to all the theta, not it is limited to one single theta and considering the other examples, other theta as a constant. Does it make sense, Vivek? Okay. So now everyone, please remember that we always remember that what is an equation of h of theta, what is an equation of j, and then the gradient descent, right? These three will be helpful in all the algorithms, right? So if let's say any of you wants to write the equation, just write down this equation of the hypothesis, y, or you can say, yeah, sure, Vivek. Write down the equation of h of theta or the y, which is this, and also at this place just mention x0, and we know that the x0 we are keeping as 1. So this is our prediction, right? So this is either hypothesis or you can say it is y hat. And mention this least square error, that is j of theta, where this is the true value. This y is a true value. The third thing that you can write is this equation, the equation of gradient descent. Now in this equation, let's just discuss about only remaining entity, that is alpha, which is referred as a learning rate, and it's an hyperparameter. What do we mean by hyperparameter? Right, so that we need to configure. Hyperparameter means the parameter that we need to set, right? While theta is a parameter, all the theta values, no matter whether it is theta 0, theta 1 up to some d, theta d values, I will in general refer it as a theta. Right? So that theta is a parameter value means it is tuned by the learning algorithm, that is this gradient descent. But this alpha, which is you can say the learning rate, it's a hyperparameter that we are supposed to identify. The best value of that should be identified by us, and once again that varies from data set to data set, right? So we should try different alpha values and we should observe the performance of the different alpha values. And actually this alpha indicates next time whenever you update the theta value, let's say right now I'm over here. So next time whenever so whenever I'm at this point, what I want to do with the theta, should I increase it or decrease it? Whenever let's say we have initialized this theta by some garbage, or you can not garbage, by some random value, and that calculation of j theta will gives you this value 2. So now from this point, yes, they were correct. The next updation should be such that I should reach somewhere over here. Fine. So let's say this is a point number 1, or it might also possible that I should reach at point number 2, or let's say I should reach at point number 3, and this is let's say the current point C. So out of this point 1, 2 and 3, if let's say after updating theta I am reaching at some x point, then that is actually a wrong learning. So what will be the value of that x, whether it's 1, 2 or 3? 3, correct. So if let's say the current value of j theta is this, and the next value of j theta is let's say this point, that is point number 3, then you can say it's a wrong learning. Fine. Or in other sense, I can say from the current point, I am supposed to increase the theta value, but somehow I have decreased the theta value, and that's why my error value is increased. Right, so that is actually the wrong learning, and the gradient descent will never reach to this point. So now it may reach to this point 1 or point 2, depends on the value of alpha. Means this alpha will help you that from the current point, whenever you update the theta value, how far you want to jump, whether you want to jump to this point number 1, or whether you want to jump to point number 2. Higher the value of alpha, more you can say larger the jump is. Fine. Towards this converge how much you want to jump. So that would be the indication, or you can say that will be the indication of this alpha. Fine. After this gradient descent, we will see what will be the impact if you set alpha to very high value, and what will be the impact if you set alpha to very lower value. But yes, that will be the discussion after this gradient descent. Right? But from the current discussion, I hope you are clear that the alpha will help you, or you can say it helps you to identify the step, how big your step is, right? So no, whether you want to from the current point, whether you want to switch to the point 1 or you want to switch to the point 2, so that would be the decided by this alpha value, right? And the same thing is mentioned over here too. From the current point towards the next point, what is the difference that would be decided by this alpha. And we have discussed this positive and the negative set and negative slope, and based on that positive and the negative derivation, and based on that value, increase or decrease the theta value. Fine. And that's why with that reference, we have identified why this minus sign is over here in the updation. Fine. And I hope now there is no doubt or no issue in this learning algorithm. Right. So we'll frequently update this theta value till we reach towards the convergence. And what do you mean by convergence? Yes, towards this, or whenever we till we'll reach towards this global optimal, or you can say global minimum point. So one question, let's assume you have started from this point. So obviously, as you have started from this point, now next iteration will increase or decrease theta. It will decrease the theta, right? So next point, let's say this one. Then let's say once again you repeat the process, and let's say the next point will be this one. So with this continuation, at which time you know that this is the minimum value, or how you know that this is the minimum value? For this very ideal example, we have set that example such that the minimum value is 0, right? But generally, let's say if your graph is something like this, so how you know that you have reached towards this minimum value? So that value might not be 0. Slope 0. So let's say if I consider this particular point, then if I try to have the slope of that particular point, what will happen if you observe the slope value will be 0, right? So this is one way. Another way can be you can continuously change the theta value, right? And whenever you are reaching at this point, now next what happen? You are increasing the theta value. Fine. And parallelly, if you observe, the error is also increased. So during the training, if the scenario is something like that, for some iteration your error is decreased, and lateral after one particular point, once again error start increasing. So that point is actually, you can see, your stopping criteria, you can say that is your convergence point. Fine. And one more example that I want to highlight over here is, before starting this mathematical calculation, let's say next jump is this point, next jump, let's say this particular point, and due to the alpha value, the next jump is this point. So now we do not have that 0 slope. Are you getting? So if you are getting a slope as a 0 value, then definitely that's a global minimum value, and you must stop at that point. But in many cases, this kind of scenario might happen due to the alpha value, or you can say due to the learning rate. What happen? You may skip that global minimum, and you may reach to the point, let's say something might be point which is over here, and for that the theta value is around 0.7. So now how you know that where the convergence point is? Right. So as I have discussed that, for this particular point, if you observe the error, that is j theta, it must be lesser than the error produced by this point. So let's say if I say this is point P1, this is point P2. So the error produced by P2 is obviously lesser than P1. So we'll continue, right? And but let's assume this is point P3. So now if you check, so this is the latest point. Fine. After the first iteration, this is the latest point. So now for the latest point and the newest point, that is this P3, now you have to check what is an error difference of this P2 and P3. So if it increase in, let's say, 1 or 2 iteration, if it increase, that means you have skipped that minimum point, or you can say you are now very near to the convergence. So now you have to consider that region only, and accordingly you have to proceed. Fine. But right now, whichever latest technique that we are going to use, all are aware about this whole calculation. So mathematically, or you can say computationally, you never need to worry about this. You just need to use the function, and that function will decide that minimum value. But you must clear with the concept how exactly it is deciding that stuff, or when we can say our algorithm converges. Fine. So now let's see the calculation quickly. So now what we are doing, let's just focus on this partial derivation part, because this terminology, I hope it's clear. Theta, whatever is this previous theta value, that we are updating with some parameter alpha times something, right? And this will be the new theta value, and as I have discussed that we will update all the theta value at the same time. That is not the scenario that I will update a single theta value, then the next, and so on. But instead of that, we'll update all the theta value at the same time. Fine. So now what we'll do, we'll just try to apply this partial derivation. So for that purpose, let's try to extend this equation of j theta. Fine. So this is the equation of j theta. Next over here, we have the h theta. So let's try to extend that equation too. Fine. So this is the value of h theta, where theta h theta is theta k x k. K starts from 0 up to d. Why it starts from 0, not from the 1? Theta 0, where the theta 0 means the term which is related to the bias. So that's why we have added that x0, and that's why we have considered that x0 is equals to 1. So ultimately it would be theta 0 plus theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2 up to theta d xd. And so for this simplicity, we have added that x0 is equals to 1 term. So now if you just if you just extend this equation for some d value, so it would be theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2 and so on, right? And now we are considering this derivation with a specific theta j value, right, where we know that the j is starting from 0 up to the d. So assume that right now j is equals to 0. Fine. And assume that the value of d is simply 2 right now. Fine. So if I extend this equation, then what happen? It would be theta 0 x0 plus theta 1 x1 plus theta 2 x2. Right. And this y value as it is minus y, and this will repeat for all n example. Right now, let's assume that we just have one example. So no need to worry about this. Assume that there is only one example. Fine. Also, no need to worry about this equation then. So now if you start this partial derivation, so we have square of this function. So now if you apply the partial derivation, so this is similar to the x square. And what is the partial derivation of x square? Right, so it is 2x. Fine. So the result of this will be 2, and this is our x value, right? And so now this square will not be there. And as this term are related to the theta, we cannot just have x square. It is not just a x square. It is so I can directly write it as 2x. So I have to move this theta, or you can say I have to move this partial derivation inside this particular function 2. So j is right now 0. So partial derivation of this first term with respect to j, or with respect to theta j. So what is the result? 1. 1. It's x0, right? Yes, with respect to theta 0, it's 1, but 1 into x0, so answer will be x0. Yes, yes, the final answer will be 1. If I consider that x0 is equals to 1, then the final answer will be 1. But let's just keep x0 as x0 itself, because lateral will have the similar equation for the x1 as well as for the x2 too. Fine. What about this second term? So if you assume these are the constant with respect to this theta 0, so for all these values, the answer will be 0. Fine. So the final calculation of this will be x0. Fine. Are you getting? Now let's assume j is equals to 1. So can anyone quickly tell me what will be the final answer of this full calculation? Yes, correct. So it will be x1. Fine. I hope now you are getting the concept. Now if I write j is equals to 2, the answer will be x2. Fine. Or in general, can I say that the answer is xj for a given value of j? Fine. So now let's just focus on this calculation. So what we have done, this is similar to the x square. So we have considered that 2x and the remaining term, or you can say we are moving this particular partial derivation inside. Fine. So this is 2x and this 2 both will get cancelled out, and we have this term. Fine. And we know what is the result of this. What is the result of this partial derivation? That is xj, right? So this is the value, or you can say this is the updation to the previous theta value. Fine. So our gradient descent learning will be, let's assume that the alpha is, let's say, 0.1. So during the learning phase, what we'll do, whatever is the initial random theta value, we'll update that initial random theta value. That is, we'll update this initial random theta value by 0.1 time this calculation. Fine. And if you observed, just carefully look at this equation. In the calculation itself, we are using the theta value. You can say in a calculation itself, we are using all the theta values starting from 0 up to d. So that's why I inform you that do not modify the theta value one by one. So if we have three different theta value, theta 0, theta 1 and theta 2, so we'll update all three together. So in this calculation over here, we'll always use the older value. But it's not the scenario that we'll update the theta 0. So next time during the calculation of theta 1, we'll use the updated value of theta 1 over here, theta 0 over here. Or let's say next time during the calculation of theta 2, we'll not use theta 0 and the theta 1. Are you clear? We'll always use the older value in the calculation. And together we'll update all the theta values. Any doubt? The gradient descent learning algorithm. So if we just summarize, you just need to consider only three equations: hypothesis, your loss function, and you can say the third one, the gradient descent, or you can say your learning algorithm. Fine. So that's it in this linear regression. Only three terminology: hypothesis. So that is our y hat, or you can say h of x. The second is the loss, that is the square error loss that we have considered. And the third is the gradient descent. And we have derived the equation for the gradient descent. So just have a look at that equation and let me know if you have any doubt. And then we'll have some additional discussion. So just spend a minute and just try to understand what exactly we have or what is our actual calculation in this gradient descent. So I hope the calculation is clear. So basically, it's fine if you're not able to remember all these concepts. Ultimately, I will share this slide, but you must clear with the concept what exactly we are doing. Fine. So it's fine if you don't remember what is exactly the final answer of this gradient descent, but you should clear with the equation of hypothesis, the square error, why we are considering the square error, why the local minima problem is not there, then the why we are considering this partial derivation, why the negative sign, and so on. So you must clear with that concept. And I cannot expect that you must always remember this equation and you must always try that. So you can always have a reference for that. So right now, but you must clear with the process. That's what I can expect, right? So this slide we have already discussed. You should not update individual theta value. Rather than that, you should update all the theta values together. And what does it means? In the calculation, we know that we are actually using the previous theta value. So right now what I have done, I have just replaced this partial derivation term by the previous result. And if you just check this particular result, so I have replaced the partial derivation with this result. So in this equation, I have just put this value. Fine. So what is the meaning of this simultaneous update? In the equation, we are using the theta value, or you can say during the calculation of gradient, we are using the theta value. So we always use the older theta value for all the calculation. And once the calculation of all updation parameter, you can say once the calculation of all the gradient is done, then together we'll update all the theta values. Fine. And generally, this alpha will keep constant for the full training process, or you can say for all the epochs, where the one epoch means one single execution of this full algorithm, calculation of h of theta, calculation of loss function, calculation of gradient descent, and updating the theta. Right? Only 4 steps are there. So once you complete all 4 steps, that means a one iteration, or you can say one epoch. So for all the epoch, we'll mostly keep this alpha as a constant value. And I hope from this previous graph calculation, you must clear that even if I keep that alpha as a constant, still we can have, or you can say can reach to the convergence. Because this value, this gradient will help you in that scenario. It will control whether should I increase the theta or should I decrease the theta value, right? Then what is the role of this alpha? If this gradient is going to control this theta, you can say should I increase or decrease the theta? So if it is in the control of gradient, then why we are using this alpha? What is the role of alpha? So the answer to that question is this gradient will just gives you the direction. In this particular direction, you may find the global minimum. But in that direction, what should be your step? Or you can say how far you want to go into that direction. That value is controlled by alpha. So if you set alpha is equals to 1, that means whatever is the direction value given by the gradient, I want to exactly update the theta value by that. But let's say if I keep that alpha a very small value, that means I am taking a very tiny or the small steps towards that convergence. And in contrast, if I am setting that alpha a very larger value or very higher value, my step size is larger. Fine. So the gradient will decide the direction, while the alpha will decide the step in that particular direction. Fine. And we can set one particular minimum value. So if the older and the newer theta value, if that particular difference is lesser than some epsilon, then we can say it converges, the algorithm converges. Right? Or in another term, what you can say, if the loss value, the j theta, if it is a very smaller value, then we can say the algorithm converges. Fine. So with this, we are ending this linear regression calculation, and in the next lecture we'll start the discussion of new topic that is referred as the regularization, which is once again related to this linear regression, but it is bit related to the overfitting. So that's it for today. Thank you.
Okay, all of you. Today we'll start with blurring, smoothing. So our laboratory will be focused on the filtering process. So first we will do smoothing. How to achieve smoothing? Anyone, if anyone can recall, how to achieve smoothing? That means if I want to blur my image, what was the concept? If you can recall, how to blur any image? Convolution. That is good. That is first step. That I will convolve with what? I will do filtering. Filtering or alternatively they are known as convolution only because I will have a window. Then I will because it will be symmetric if I will flip or not it will not make much difference. Ideal convolution is take a window, flip it, scan your entire image and have element wise multiplication and addition. Replace it with the center element, right? So that is what the general idea of convolution is. But here we can call it convolution, correlation, filtering. Everything will be same because my window will be symmetric, right? But question is that which window I should use such that I will get my blurring effect. What which window I should use? All ones Uh, no, I mean it is true. Huh. 1 by n, right? That is true. So what we want is that yes, average filter we will call it as average. That is good. Or we can say it is all ones multiplied with 1 by n. N is the size of actually filter, or I should say n into n, where my filter size is n cross n, which are total number of ones, which are average. Right, that is true. So I will just quickly go through that concept. Already we have studied and you remember, that's good one. I will show you the steps. So the requirements of the operation we will be clear again with, and then we will think that how to implement it. Okay. So first is I will have my image, right? I will take any center pixel, then I will take its neighborhood, right? And then I will have my sub window. Sub window will look like this. This is my sub window, sub image or sub window. And then what I will do, I will go by element wise multiplication. That with this two, I will have element wise multiplication, and then I will add them. Whatever result will be actually the average of this 9 element, because my this parameter is of what we can say it is, or this window size is of 3 cross 3. That's why 9 elements are there. That's why I'm going to divide it by 1 by 9. So actually I'm going to get the average here. Okay. So this concept you already remember. So once I will complete for this, then I will go for this 3. So then I will take its own neighborhood. Then I will calculate for this. Then I will go for the next pixel, 4 pixels. So I will shift my window. So I will scale my image in that way. So here I am clear with, if I want to start with my this element, how to start. I am clear with. But what about this element? If I want to calculate it, this, what should I do? So the procedure will be quite simple, similar one. What to do? This procedure is The same procedure. What it is like if I want to calculate for this, what should I do? I should take 3 cross 3 neighborhood. So this is my 3 cross 3 neighborhood. This is my 3 cross 3 neighborhood. Here you can see this is my 3 cross 3 neighborhood. So here what I can see, okay, few elements are available like 2, 4, 9, 2 are available. But what about these elements? They are absent. These are not available. The elements with the dots are not available. What to do with the elements with the dot? If I'm going for the boundary, it is possible that in my enclosed neighborhood, few elements are not available. What to do for those elements? What are the options I have? Yes, paired with zero. That is one option. I agree. Paired with zero, that is one option. So we'll go with option one by one. We will go for all the options one by one. Right now, it is not discussed with you what are the other options, right? So first we will go with the known option to you. Whatever known option to you, we will go with that option. We will see what is the impact, what is the why we should not go with that or we should go with that in this situation. Those type of questions we will solve. Then we will find out can we have the alternate ones? Can we implement the alternate methods here? So that we will see today, right? So fine. So right now your answer is totally correct that we will paired with zero. We will paired with zero. So fine. So we will paired with zero. Okay. Now question is, suppose it is my 3 cross 3, suppose it is my 3 cross 3 neighborhood. How many rows and how many columns I should pair with zero? How many rows and how many columns I will need that, I mean, the image should be paired with zero. My neighborhood is of 3 cross 3. Will it depend on neighborhood first? One row on each side, Maliha, or totally one? What should be the dimension? Two rows and two columns in the case of like if, otherwise you are also correct, but it should be like on each side I want to pad with one row and one column, right? That is fine. So yes, if I what is n in that case, Bhomik? You are saying n plus two. What is n in that case? Rows and columns of sub image or image. See, what is my question? That main image. So total. So what I understand is that you want to say the final image size will be n plus two cross n plus two. That is what you want to say here. If it is n plus n earlier, now it is n plus two cross n plus two. You are also correct. And what is the meaning of your statement here is how much padding I had here is my padding was of on one row on both sides and one column on both sides, right? So definitely my dimension will be n plus two cross n plus two. Earlier, if it is n cross n. Suppose it is okay. Now what? Why you? So that you are correct. Like I have to pad with zeros here. That is one column. I will pad with zeros. I will pad one rows with this. That. So definitely these elements will be covered. I mean up to this element will be covered. But what about this element? Therefore that I will need one padded column on this side as well. Same way for this element I will need one row padded on this side. So totally one row, one column on both the sides. I mean totally my my rows will increment by 2, my columns will increment by 2, provided my image sub image size is 3 cross 3. What about 5 cross 5? What about 5 cross 5? What will be my new image size, or rather how many rows or how many columns I will paint? Yes, 4 rows and 4 columns totally. That means 2 rows on each side. Because see, my size will be of 5 cross 5, right? So if I take five neighbors on this side, right? So it will look like this. 5 cross 5, I hope you can understand that if I can take here 5 cross 5, so this is my center element. 5 cross 5 will be looking like this. Here like this. I mean, I think you can understand here. Like I will need 2 rows on both the sides. Same way here, I will also need 2 rows because it will be 5 cross 5. So two elements on this side, two elements on this side. Center one will be this. There will be two lines here and two lines on the above I will need. So totally I will need two rows to be padded on upper side, two columns padded on the right hand side. Same way, two columns will be padded on the left hand side. Two are already padded on the upper side. Same way, two will be padded on the bottom side, right? So actually, I should say I will totally need so two rows on both sides. I need to pad. Two columns on both the sides I should pad, and totally I will require to pad it to by 4, right? So if it is 3 cross 3, I need to pad one on all the sides. If it is 5 cross 5, I need to pad two on all the sides, right? So how they are related with? Suppose it is 7 cross 7, it will be 3 on each side. If it is 7 cross 7, then 3 rows on each side, 3 columns in each side, right? Yes, it will be. I should say yes. Yes, you are correct in that way. Um, we need to pad n by 2 rows, but it will be what we can say if we are considering the integer number, then it is correct. Otherwise, if you are going for the better equation, what we can say is n minus 1 by 2. So it will be always one. What we can say is it will be always integer number. So you are correct. Otherwise, if you are going for that result will be always in integer or you are taking in float. In that way, you are correct. Where n is the size of your sub-image. Where n is not size of your image, n is the size of your sub-image. Suppose it is 5 cross 5, then if it is 5 cross 5, then 5 minus 1 by 2, that is 2 on each side you need to pad. If it is 3 cross 3, 3 minus 1 by 2, that is what you can say 1 on 3 minus 1, that is 2 by 2, that is 1 on each side is required to be padded. So n minus 1 by 2 is to be required to be padded. Is it clear? So that so our equation will be, suppose my sub-image size is n cross n, small n cross n, then my padding on each side will be n minus 1 by 2. So these concepts are required before implementation. Okay. So then it is very easy to implement that. I will take my image, sub-image, and I will have element-wise multiplication and addition. So now what is the case? Now let us start. How will we start? I will give you one image. Say from left 3 images. You can see now what you will need. That the left 3 images mostly. Yes, left three images, and you will need 5_1, left 5_1 image, left 5_2 image. Both, all of them are available on the drive folder as well as on Moodle. Left 3 images. In that, if you remember that image of the cat was that, right? The 2.jpg, that was cat image. I'm going to use. So I will expect that all of you, any image otherwise you can take, but I'm going to demonstrate on that. But test underscore left 5_1, left 5_2, those two images are needed, and from left 3 images, that cat image 2.jpg is required. So all of you please be ready with those images if not yet ready. And once you are ready, just acknowledge. From left 3 2.jpg, that is cat image. Just verify whether it is from left 3. Mostly it is from 3. If it is not, then 4 we can check. But mostly it is from 3. Okay, that's good. What about others? Maliha is ready. All of you, I hope you are also ready. That's good. Good. Nice. So all of you are ready with that. That is, I'm assuming the others are also ready. Now we can go for the next task. Now, suppose I'm taking 2.jpg. Right? I want to blur it. I want to blur that grayscale image. So now, what is your first step? What do you think that what should be our first step in Octave? First, I will read that image. So first of all, all of you are going to read it. So that's all right. I'm not asking about reading the images. So that is true. So it will be definitely you will read the image. That is the first step. Then what you will do? So you are using IMRead to read that image. Then what is the next step? increase the dimension to pad. Yes, you need to pad it with zeros. How will you pad? What do you think? What will be your code? Many see we are as we are discussing implementation. It is possible that all of you are having different and brilliant idea possible. So what I am expecting is all of you are going to share that idea so that we can go for the best one. See, what I want is, I can show you. A requirement is like Akshay. It will not be resized. It will not be resized. What is my requirement? I can show you that. If this is my image, okay. Um, Whatever its size is, whatever the values are, I am assuming that the pixel will not be this large. I hope you will understand that this is my image, right? This is my image. So whatever the values are, like 5 or 7, 2, whatever the values are, 3, right? Whatever 5, whatever I hope you will understand. This is whatever the values you have. These are as it is. What I want is the image should be padded with 0 like this. In that way, the dimension should increase. Are you getting it? So I will pad it with 0 like this. If I'm assuming that I'm going to use 3 cross 3, if I'm assuming that my image is 3 cross 3, then I want this type of 0. So this is what I need. This is what is my requirement. So if I will do image resize, what will happen? The dimension of this image itself will increase. It will use interpolation and all those, and it will increase the dimension. I don't want to increase my original image dimension, but what I want to do is that I want to pad with zeros. I want to keep my image as it is, but pad with zeros. So now Maliha has suggested something interesting. What is that? Zeros m plus n minus 1 by 2 plus n plus, that is good. What about m and n? There, I think original image size. Again, n. Okay, fine. I'm assuming capital N here. Capital M is the original image size, m cross n, and small n cross n is your neighborhood size. Okay, small n cross n. So I will rewrite that equation. Otherwise, your equation is correct. So you can try that. Let's try whether it is working properly or not. So what we can try is, I'm writing it like the capital M and capital N are my dimension of my image. And what if we are keeping it as 2 into n minus 1 by 2 is equal to n minus 1? Oh yes, that is true. That is true. Maliha, what will happen here if I am doing just zeros with this na? So only one-sided zeros will be padded. One line and one column will be padded. What I need is I want to pad it with. That is true, Bhumik, you are correct here. I hope, Maliha, you are clear with what I want to say to you. If I will pad with n minus 1 by 2, what will happen? Just suppose it is 3 cross 3, it will pad 1 0 and one row. But what I want, 1 0, 1 row on one side. On all sides I need. So what I will need to do, that on both sides I need, both rows I want to pad, both columns I want to pad. So according to Bhumik, that is I think correct, that what you should do is 2 into n minus 1 by 2. So you should write it n minus 1. And instead of writing, okay, you can have this n minus 1 only, because you're assuming your sub image will be always a square of size n cross n. So fine, fine. So our conclusion is that we are going to work with this. That uh, this is a modified equation. This seems correct. Okay. So if we tried it, let me try as well. Let us all of us will do together. So I'm assuming that all of you are doing this task. I'm assuming parallelly you are also doing the task. I'm ready with my environment, but I'm not yet coded. What till time we can discuss the next step. That okay, after padding, what should be your next job? So now, if you will, it is not padding yet. Your new image is not padding. It is just dimension is ready with you now. The dimension is ready with you. Yet you are not ready with the padded image. You have to put your image in this new image, right? So what will be the code line for that? Akshay, are you clear why resize will not work? I forgot to ask you, Akshay. Okay. So all of you now tell me what is your code for putting your image into that new image. I'm just starting my code now. I'm expecting till I will complete, you will give me the code segment for the next line so that will not stop there. So I'm reading my image that .jpg from left three images. Then I will read the size. How will you obtain the size of your image? That function is size. We'll go with size. Then what to do? I will decide what will be my sub image size. So I'm deciding it will be 3, right? So I'm defining variable. I should not use a here because a is quite common. I'm using x as my input. X as my input. I'm defining a as n minus 1 by 2. That you know, if you remember, we have already defined the same variable and b will also be the same. So actually, if it is my sub images of m cross n, I'm defining that for making it more generalized. A small n size is my sub image size. So my A will be m minus 1 by 2. Then my B will be, your case it will be just square all the time, but let us make it generalized in case in future we may need. Right now we will not need. Right now, if you are having that one, that's okay. Okay, so now I have the dimensions. Now I will make with the zeros. I will make new variable. I'm using the same code. So I'm going with zeros. And then what to do? The size of zeros will be m plus a 2a, m plus 2 into a, because I want one row, one column on both sides, and that's why it will be n plus 2 into b. I hope all of you are ready with this. So now if I will look at this, if I will run this, okay, so if you will see the dimension of my image x is my original image and it is 512 cross 512, and as expected 2 rows, 2 columns on both sides. So now new size is uh, size is 514 cross 514. Now tell me the next code, next line of code. What to do? What is my purpose now? In my is new my padded image? Is new my padded image? Anyone who can get the idea? You are the brilliant coders, right? So I can expect one line from you now. All of you. It is not padded image, but what is the code to make it? What I want is From where I should put the image? Where should I put? So what exactly I am having? I am having all the zeros. What I am having all the zeros. Wait. This no was for the start from m minus. Okay. Should so what if it is my case, like if it is 3, if I will start, it won't it be too far to start? I mean, what I want, I can show you. Jaimin, wait, I can show you. Let's have that example. Again, let's have this example again. So what is my new dimension of my image now? You can see this is my new dimension of my image. New dimension is, okay. You can see the new dimension. Okay, so this is my padded image now. I hope you can see that padded image. Here also there will be a 0. And this is my padded image. This is how it will look like. This is 0. So here whatever the elements are. Now earlier this was my 1 1 element. This is my 1 1 element. But now because one row is added here, my element has become this 2 2. Earlier it was, but now this is my 1 1. It is shifted by some amount. And I should go up to what? I should go up to this element. I should go up to this element, right? I will go for this. I will put my window here. I will put my window here and I will do the exercise, right? So what I want is that I want to put my image from where? I want to start my image from. Yes, it seems correct. Let's think what it exactly is. New 1 plus a to m plus a. It should be okay. Seems correct. Let's start. So we have is I'm just simply copying that code. I have to change the variables otherwise. X seems correct. So what will happen that from 2 to m plus 1 it should go. 2 to m plus 1 it should go. That is true and it seems correct. I hope everyone is clear with this one. Let us see. Yes, it is padded with 0 here, padded with 0 here, and my image starts from this. And at the end, let us verify. It is 5 and 2, so it will take time if I will not go like this. Okay, so here also one line is padded with 0. So what actually happened from 2 to 5 and 3, all rows should be copied, and from 2 to 5 and 3 columns, columns should be copied. One row and one column I should leave from 5 and 4. From first, that is from second, I will start. Let us see for the last whether it is padded. Yes, it is padded perfectly fine. So I should complete it up to 5 and 3. For 5 and 4 will be all zeros. 5 and 3 up to 5 and 3 I will have my method perfectly correct. Good. So my padded image is ready with me. Anyone if having doubt in this up to padding part. Anyone is having doubt in this padding part. Everyone is collected. Now we are ready with our padded image. Right? Okay. What is the next job? So padded image is ready. What is my next job? What is my next job? Window. I will need window, no? So give me code for the defining window. How will we define what we want to do is average. What will be the code? Simplest code I need, right? Otherwise I can define with use the function inbuilt functions available to make it simple. Give me the code for window. Window is what? 3 cross 3 all ones multiplied with 1 by 9. Perfectly right, Vyom. So I am going to copy that same code. 1 by 9 once m cross n. Good. So I have copied it. Done. Window is ready. Should we verify? So if you want to verify and check just one liner, you can select it and you can press F9. So only that will run. So you can see here, the window is ready. All 3 cross 3 and all 1 by 9. I mean, it is multiplied, so that's why it is. So window is ready. Good. What next? What next? Now I want to convert. I mean, I want to start from the first element. From which element I will start convolving, where I will put my window, where will be the center of my window for the first element in my image, what will be the dimension, see what will happen, I can explain my question in better way. Okay, so this is my image, then I will put my window, I know my window is of 3 cross 3 size, so first of all I am going to put it like this, first for the first element, so that it will, this is my first element, no? So where I will put my window in my padded image, what from where I will start my window from my padded image, yes it will be, will it be a plus 1 b plus 1, yes it will be a plus 1 b plus 1 all the time, true, yes it will be, yes it will be all the time because a is the padding, na? So plus 1 from that and same way from the b side, of course correct, so we will start padding with a plus 1 b plus 1. Okay, then so once I have it, okay, then I what I want is that that if with the center element a plus 1 b plus 1, it should multiply 9 elements of my window and 9 elements of my image. How to write the how we can get that one? Can we get it? Let us see. Let us try that first. If I am having, um, suppose I am having a is equal to, no, a is already used. I should use e, some variable e, and I am writing it like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then I will have 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm having 13. Okay, same element. I should not have used that. Uh, how we can define how we have to define? 1 to 6, it will be better to define like this. 7 to 12, and then 13 to 18, then 19 to 24. Again, what was the problem with this? I should have used semicolon. So what I want to try is how I can simply write it. So if I am writing, suppose my center element is 8, 8, how to access this 3 cross 3? If my center element is 8, 8, how to access this 3 cross 3? How to access the 3 cross 3? Then I will shift my element to 9. Okay. Then how to access this 3 cross 3? So if I am saying that this is my, if this is I is equal to 2, A is equal to 2, okay, I am defining ij 2 means my center element is 2, right? Center element is extracted, then how to extract this range of this recursive range? So what I will say, from E, what should I take? From I minus 1, that is 2 minus 1 to 2 plus 1, that is 2 plus 1, that many rows and that many columns I should take. Like if I am going for the rows, then I should take this row and this row. If this is I minus 1 and I plus 1, I should take from I minus 1 to I plus 1. Same way for j, from j minus 1 to j plus 1. So j minus 1 to j plus 1 I should take. So you can see that I expected this 3 cross 3 element. I minus 1 to, okay. Suppose I have this, if I am storing this into some k variable. So k is my 3 cross 3. Now if I will change my ij, two second row, third column, 2, 3. Then if I'm changing my J to 3, 2, 3. And if I'm running the same command, yes, definitely it is working with it. Of course, it will work, right? So this is how it is going to work, right? Now, what was my window? Window is already ready with me. So this is my, it is window. No? Command is my function. Sorry, my variable is window. Then what I will do? K. Okay, so now I want to do element wise multiplication. So what I want to do? I want to extract this K first, then I want to extract this K plus, and then I want to do element wise multiplication here, and then summation. First, tell me what will be the command for element-wise multiplication and summation. Suppose I have this case somehow. That is 3 cross 3 neighborhood is extracted somehow, and I have window with me already defined. I want to do element-wise multiplication and the summation. What will be the command for that? All of you are following the question. Should I repeat the question? Are you following the question? You can take time to form the command, but the question is, are you clear with the question? Okay, so forget about whatever we discussed earlier. I want to do K is 3 cross 3 and window is 3 cross 3. I want to do element wise multiplication and summation. What do we do in filtering? This element is multiplied with this. This element is multiplied with this. So element wise multiplication and summation of all. That I want to do. What is the command for that? Give me code for that. K into window, sum of K into window. Oh, that is correct. That is true. So, okay, fine. That is true. So we are going to use this command. Now, what is the purpose? Now, what is that? That I want to change K all the time. Yes, Vivek. I think you are also clear. That's good. Okay. So now, what is the case? Suppose I am having this as my K. If I am having this is my K, this is as my K. I mean this much as my K. Then that is 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9. That is this as center element and this as K. Then this command will work. Then what I will do? I will just change my K. How to change K? Just I will vary I and J. So it was shifted here. I could take this 3 cross 3 element easily if I am changing I2 and J3 that we have seen already. I2 and J3 that we have already seen. Right? Okay. In that way, I will go up to this element. I will go up to this element because this will be the padded one. I hope you can disassemble the thing. So now, what is my question to you? Give me the entire code. How will you implement this filtering? I showed you that how you can extract 3 cross 3. That you can have ij, you can have I minus 1 to I plus 1, j minus 1 to j plus 1. Here 1 is because it was 3 cross 3. So because why you took I minus 1 only? Because it was 3 cross 3. So you can have I minus a to I plus a. In that way also you can go. Okay, so just give me what is the range of ij, what will be your code for doing this. How to obtain the summation is very easy. Okay, summation is very easy to obtain by this command. Command is perfectly right. All three commands, all of them are right here. So what I will do is somehow I will extract k. K will be e, or rather not e. In my case, it will be padded image, that is new. In my padded image, I will go from I minus a to I plus a, that many rows. I j minus b to j plus b, that many columns are expected. So now my 3 cross 3 neighborhood or 5 cross 5 neighborhood, whatever it is expected. Okay. Now I have already window with me. So what I want is whatever k is extracted, that should be multiplied with window. So k should get multiplied. I'm going to copy your command given by you. I'm taking the command suggested by Muktan. I assume that it is correct. It is correct, right? So okay, this is ready. Summation is ready. Where should I put this summation? element wise multiplication summation is obtained, what should be the location where I should put this? What exactly we obtain? I can show you the PPT. I assume that you are comfortable with it. Suppose I extracted this red part 3 cross 3, right? And then I had the window, I did element wise multiplication, and where I should replace it, element wise multiplication with this, and where should I replace? At this location. Then I will go for this. I will go for I minus 1 neighbors on this side, I minus I plus 1 neighbors on this side, j plus 1 neighbor on this side, j minus 1 neighbor on this side, and then I will take this neighborhood. And then I will have window, element wise multiplication and summation should be replaced here. Tell me where I should replace. Yes, at ij. You are going to replace at ij. At ij you are going to, yes, new ij. But see, if I will, so what is the problem if I am doing new ij, Chintal? The problem will be that element will get altered. Okay, this element will get altered. Suppose I am replacing here, it will get altered, and when I will calculate for this, what I need is the original element is needed. I don't want to calculate with the altered element. So what I will do, so that I think the issue is clear to you. So what I should do, I should have one more, not xij. We will need one filtered, or we can say output. One, like, let us take new image which is whose size is equal to new, or which is equal to new. Actually simple is correct. What I should do, where whichever image I am taking, on that central element I should replace. But when I am calculating the next one, I should calculate the previous element. I should not consider the new element. That's why what I will do, I will replace in the new image, which is early, which I will equate with the new. I will consider new image, or rather I should say one more image, which is equal to new image that was padded. That was padded image. This is padded image is equal to one output image, and that element I am going to replace here. So what I will do at output, or I should have out earlier. All the time output will be longer to write, so I am writing out only. So out of ij, that is at 2 2, that sum is replaced. Ideally I should replace it new only, but the problem with the new will be what? That the new element will be considered in the next calculation. So that is not preferable. If I will alternate x, what will happen? My original image I am going to lose. So if I don't want to do that, anyway, Jainik, you can change. It is your choice. If you don't want to preserve your old images, then of course you can have. But if you are changing in x, then you should replace it at 1 1. Jainik and Bhomik, we have to replace it 1 1. Right? Nidhi, yes, you don't need padding for the output. You don't need padding for the output, so you can go with that. Definitely, you can go with that. But let us keep right now this, because I want to see the impact of padding in the output as well. Suppose I'm following the traditional way, and what will be the impact of padding? Then solution. One of the solution of the issue that we will see will be that you are suggesting right now, Nidhi, Jainik, Maliha, all of you are suggesting the correct one. That what will be the output, that we will keep. We will just crop the rest of the images. If you want to do that right now, we can do, but let us keep it down. Okay. So we will see the impact. Fine. Or if you want to remove it, then also we can remove. So tell me the code for that. Should I write I minus 1? What should I write here? Should I write I minus? Let us keep your idea. Then we will see the impact. Let us go with your idea. Just give me your code here. Should I write I minus 1, j minus 1? Will it work? Nidhi, Maliha, Jainik, Homik, give me the code. What should be my out? I should equate out with x. So that the dimension, or should I have? What should I declare? How should I initiate out? I minus a j. Okay. As Malia is saying, I'm just following her. That this a minus b. Okay. Let's see if it will not work. Then I think it should work. But if not, then we will see how to solve. Right now, out is equal to what should I do with out, Maliha? Should I write once mn or I should equate it with x? Whatever I will do, it is going to change. No? Or if I will not define, then also it should not harm actually. Because we are not using it anyway. No? So let us not define. Let us define it in here only. Let us define it here only. Because right, we are not using it in summation or somewhere, right? So fine, it should not make trouble, it should not create problem. Okay, so what should be the range of I in j? So I replaced it. So center element is replaced. Task is over. But what about I in j? I will need for loop. No? So tell me about for loop. For 4. Here this is 4 for I, this is 4 for j. Give me the range of I in j. One plus a, 2 m plus a, r plus a, r is m. So it is 1 plus, so okay. Okay, good. So okay, let us do 1 plus a, 2 m plus a, then 1 plus b, 2 n plus b. Okay, seems right. Because 2 last element we are going, so fine, seems correct. So finally, this is over. What will be the data type of out? Is it fine? Is it sufficient or I need to change the data type? Data type of out you are expecting to be unsigned integer rate. Let us see. It is ready or it was terminated. Let us try again. Actually, you should start with, and I should also start with close or clear all so that we can get the idea that what is going on. Scanning is taking time. In case by mistake, if you kept any semicolon, um, I mean, if you have forgotten any semicolon, it will take even more time because it will print everything. So what we are having here is, what was my output? Out, no? Out is having the same size as my original image and having data type double. What are the value range? Value is greater than 1 that you can easily see. Now if I will use IM show, what is going to show me? Total white image, because double, if it is double data type, it will expect 0 to 1. So what should I do is, I should write it like out is not sufficient. Yes, because you use one cell, that's why the data type is double. But anyway, we can go with UINT 8 and out. So now my data is in the range of 0 to 255 and it is now having double data type. I am keeping it just this line I will run. So now you can see my data type and values even are changed, right? So now I will use IM show out. I should show you the original image as well. So I should use figure. You have seen the original image, but again let us compare. Was figure original image. X is now original, right? X is now original image. I'm just running this because I want to save the time. Can you see the blurring effect? Did you obtain the blurring effect? I hope all of you are working with it. Did you obtain blurring effect? And expected. It was expected that it is going to blur. If you want to see, you can see this region. This region was quite sharp, or you can see this region was also quite sharp. That is quite blurred. Because here from black to white transition was there, so sharpness is visible. Now from black to white, but with gray values are interpreted because we have taken average here, so gray values are available now, and hence the sharpness is reduced. The reason already we have discussed in the lecture session. But this blurring is not sufficient for me. I want to increase the blurring. I want to increase. Now observe this border also you should observe. See, my image size is the same as the image size is same as my original image. Still, you can see some border is there. Can you see the border here? Maybe thin border, but there is a border. If not visible, we will see in the next one. Okay, now I want to increase the blurring. What to do? This is not sufficient blurring for my case. How to increase the blurring? Window size we should increase. Okay, let us try. So I am going to change it to 5 cross 5. Yes, that is true. If I will increment the size and maybe increase the size of my window, it will increase the blurring because it will combine more neighborhood impact. It should not be like this. Some issue is there. In some operation we are having the issue. It should not be like this. No. What is the problem identified? Oh yes, that is true. But why we? It should be not 1/9. We should write here m by n. Na? Huh. Right. That is true. Yes, no. I changed. 1 by m by n. That is 1 by mn. Huh. That will work. Let us see. Thank you, Priyal. That was actually the issue. Yes, we have obtained the blurring here. Visible blurring than the previous case. Blurring has increased than the previous case. You can see this is now, see, you can observe this region. It was quite sharp, this region was quite sharp. Where black to white transition, here also you can see. Here quite clear pixels are visible. Sharpness is quite visible here, the sharpness is not there. And observe your border as well. Can you see the thick border compared to the previous case, that 3 cross 3? Can you see the thicker border here? Though I have removed the padding, still I am having the impact here. Still I am having the impact because see what will happen. Um, why? Okay, let us see. Even go for the higher range, and then even then we will discuss something regarding the border, which is as further. If I want to increase, I will further increment this window size. 7 Okay, so now again you observe regarding to border and blurring. Blurring is here is the change is totally not visible now. I mean, quite blur image blurring is increasing as we are incrementing this window size. If you want to compare it not clear, with what you can do is you can keep 3 cross 3 image as it is, and then you can have 7 cross 7 and you can compare. But I think it's quite visible. Now I'm incrementing it even further 21 cross 21. I am just having very huge window. It will take even more time, more operations. and the border. Impact of border, or you can, if you can see here, these lines are visible here. This is thickness of border. Can you see that this much thick border it is? Here also, if you can see, this is the thickness of the border. Here also, you can see the thickness of the border. It is having gradually the impact is decreasing. Here it is quite thick black, I mean not exactly black but quite thick grey, and then it is reducing. And suppose I am having that padding here, na, all 21 lines will be black here. All 21 lines will be black here. Right? So two things I want to conclude here. One is if my if I am increasing my window size, then blurring increases. Okay, and if you can see that small dots were available here, they are totally not visible, they are totally blurred now, they are not visible here. So if my window size, even if I will increase to 35, this totally will not be, this will be totally grayscale, this will not be visible at all. Still I can see something is there, but afterwards if I am taking 35, I am not going to see this. So three things I want to conclude here. One is if I am increasing the size of my filter, blurring increases, one thing. Second is it removes the object which are smaller than my filter size. You can see many objects are removed here. Many objects, many details were there. They were removed here. So it will remove the objects which are smaller in size. If not clear, I will take one more example. We'll take one more example if we will be clear with it. And third is border. There is a border and thickness of this border. This was not visible. This thick border was not visible earlier. Thickness of border increases and value of the border, or we can say color of the border, gradually decreases. Black to light gray. Black to light gray. Can you tell me the reason?